India. I am Ryan Fernando, your celebrity nutritionist, and I also am a founder of the Core Nutrition Clinics. Now, today is very unique and special because today, 22nd of July, is World Brain Health Day. And in the World Brain Health Day, what's going to be happening is we're going to be talking about the most important organ in the human body. So, joining me shortly from USA at Chicago, Dr. Shane Creado, who's a board certified psychiatrist, as well as one of the best mind coaches and sleep doctors in the world that I know of. In fact, he's written a book called Peak Sleep Performance for Athletes, and I'm going to be deep diving into the brain and Dr. Shane's mind on why he wrote this book. So, from a perspective of how the brain is going to work, hi everyone, it's great to see you joining in today. Brain health. This morning, if you're joining in, we are going to be talking about brain health and sleep. So, good morning, everyone. Ritesh, good morning. Sanjeev, good morning. Swami, good morning. Hey, everyone. Did you sleep well? I got 8 hours of sleep last night, woke up at 5:30 in the morning and did 20 minutes of deep breathing with some sort of meditation. But are you having problems with sleep? Do you have anxiety? Do you have depression? Do you have inability to focus? So I'm waiting for Dr. Shane from USA to join us. He's written the book Peak Sleep Performance by Athletes. And I just want to share one line with you, okay, before Dr. Shane comes in. I'm just waiting for him to check in, but I've marked this line, which is really good. I can't look away because if Dr. Shane gets in, there's so many of you saying hi, good morning to me, roughly 7 hours of sleep. Samadip, that's really, really good. Good sleep, 7 hours. You know, if you get 8 hours, it's like you got a smile on your face. You can get everything going. And many of us get, hey, there's peak sleep performance. We have got Dr. Shane, you got to come in, Dr. Shane, if you're ready to join us for the live. So you got to request the live. So we're just waiting in from Dr. Shane to join me. He's written a great line over here, which I wanted to find. I marked it out. Oh, this is my second copy in the clinic, which is, I have two copies of his book. So one of them I've actually marked. If I remember correctly, it was on, see, this is what I wanted to read to everyone. Gene activity, okay? A total of 711 genes were distorted in their activity caused by a lack of sleep. About half of the genes were actually increased in their about half of the genes were actually increased in the activity, whilst the other half were decreased. The genes that were switched off by a lack of sleep were genes associated with the immune system, which means cough, cold, fever, always falling sick is actually activated by lack of sleep. And today is World Brain Health Day if you're just joining in. So I'm going to see me, and it's loading right now. So World Brain Health Day. Dr. Shane, good evening to you. I hope the weather in USA is really good.
Good morning to you, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here with you once again. The weather is great in Chicago right now. It's summertime and it's been nice and sunny all day.
For those who just joining in, Dr. Shane is a board certified psychiatrist. And in my opinion, he's one of the best sleep doctors in the world because he helps athletes achieve peak performance. Dr. Shane, I just saw you at Wimbledon and you were interviewing at Wimbledon. How was the experience?
It was incredible, Ryan. I was at Wimbledon this past couple of weeks ago, and then at the PGA Tour Europe in Scotland as well, because I work with the PGA as well as some tennis players. It was just amazing to go behind the scenes and look at all these elite tennis players and see their practices, and gave one of my books to Novak's team as well. Mike Bryan, I've worked with him for a while, and he's been fantastic. He loves the work that I do. I helped him with his sleep as well. So he said, "Hey, why don't you join me at Wimbledon?" It was just such a privilege and a great blessing to be a part of that whole experience. So hopefully next time you can join me.
I think I will. I will join you next time. And you know, today's World Brain Health Day. Let's start off with few simple questions. why the brain is the most important organ in the human body. As a doctor, you study the brain better than most of us, and you actually treat people based on, their deficiencies in the brain. And now you've written this book called Peak Sleep Performance for Athletes. Now, both me and you deal with high performing individuals, which are athletes, celebrities, rock stars, millionaires, billionaires, and they pay a lot of focus on their brain health. So, why the brain? Why should everyone watching in today on this live begin to start not with a weight loss program, not begin to start with a fat burner? Why should they focus first on the brain?
The brain is the command center, right? It determines everything we do. And if the brain isn't healthy, we're not healthy. And if our bodies are not healthy, our brain is not healthy. So as you know, I work with Dr. Daniel Lehman and we do the brain spect images and we know all the risk factors for brain health. And your role is indispensable when it comes to brain health because if your body isn't healthy, if you're not getting the right nutrition, your brain isn't going to function well. We talk about the brain and neurotransmitters. We talk about the fact that, guess what? The gut produces 75% of those neurotransmitters.
So the
Where's
gut the
information?
gut produces 75% of those neurotransmitters.
That's
So whoever's
right.
eaten whoever's eaten bad on the weekend is going to have a crappy Monday morning, technically.
100%. I wonder how many of our listeners today are having a crappy Monday morning because their nutrition wasn't right. And that leads into good quality sleep as well. So the gut and the brain, that gut brain axis is so critical for every one of the folks we work with. As you rightly said, whether they're billionaires or regular stay at home moms or whether they're elite athletes, the gut needs to work right. You're fueling your brain. As Dr. Daniel says, would you put sugar in the gas tank of your Ferrari? Well, you're worth more than a Ferrari. Why would you do that with your own brain?
Awesome. Awesome. So we have understood that the neurotransmitters, the brain chemistry is really, really important. So from my perspective over here, I wanted to know when you talk about sleep, do we need to go to sleep early? Because in your book you talk about the importance of sleep, right? And I really love your book because I keep it in my counseling
Absolutely.
room and I quote it to athletes. And then there's this great one where there's a lack of sleep and tennis accuracy shots go down by 9.2%. So somebody asked us a question just now live. Is it okay if I get 8 hours of sleep, but any time of the day? Like, these are call center workers and people who probably will not go to bed at 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night. So from that perspective.
Yeah. So it goes into timing of sleep and the amount of sleep and the quality of sleep. Each of those individual things need to come together. So the timing of sleep, you can't help it if you're a shift worker, if you're working in a call center, strange hours. But what you can do is lock in the other two aspects of sleep if the timing is messed up. The amount of sleep that you're getting and the quality of that sleep. So if you're waking up refreshed, okay. If you're not waking up refreshed, it's not normal. A lot of people think it's the norm to not wake up refreshed. That's a problem. So how many hours of sleep do you need? Let's dispel the notion of hours of sleep. Let's think about sleep cycles.
What are
One
they,
sleep cycle is
doctor? What are
90
they? What are
minutes.
sleep cycles,
So
doctor?
sleep cycles are, well, deep sleep and dream sleep together. You've
Mm-hmm.
cycled through deep and dream sleep. It's usually
Mm-hmm.
90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have 5 cycles of 90 minutes each, that's 7.5 hours in a night. For an average adult like me, I'm not an elite athlete training for 6 or 8 hours each day. 7.5 hours of good quality sleep is my sweet
So
spot.
are you saying that athletes, and sorry to keep interrupting you because there's so many questions coming off on my platform. Are you saying that the athletes need more sleep than the common person like you and me?
100%. And
But they're
yeah,
all sleeping 7 and 8 hours like us normal people.
I wonder how many of them qualified for the Paris Olympics then this year.
And so they need to sleep more.
100%. 100%.
So,
Because the
so
more you
coming back to your
train,
2 cycles, the sleep and dream, and you went 5 cycles, please continue on that.
so 5 cycles of sleep is right, 7.5 hours of sleep. A lot of my athletes that went to Paris this year, they're getting, 7, 8 cycles of sleep, which is around 9.5, 10, 10.5, some of them 12 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period. Because if you're training for 6 to 8 hours, you need that recovery sleep. It's critical for your recovery, your inflammation reduction, your reaction times, your brain to flush out the toxins that build up while we're awake. All this is super important. Kids need more sleep. And adolescents, on average, need around 9 hours of sleep. 1% of the population may need 6 hours or less of sleep. So some people say, I can get away with just 5 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep, I'm good. If you're in the 1% of the population, God bless you, lucky you, great. But 99% chance you're not in that 1%.
Wonderful. So, when we're talking about this in terms of anxiety, I recently read a study saying that somewhere in prisons, they gave the prisoners more amount of omega-3 and a multivitamin, specifically the B complexes. So, I was just reading up on how the MTHFR gene, when there's a lack of methylfolate, it's a cascade effect into depression, anxiety. So when I hear people or read on the newspaper that so and so jumped out of a balcony or committed suicide, or students under so much of pressure, I'm scratching my head and thinking, could it be that there's a nutritional deficiency? Could it be that you're not sleeping enough and therefore slamming your brain and not getting the necessary rejuvenation? So, what's your opinion as a board certified psychiatrist?
You're 100% right, Ryan. So, as we mentioned earlier, the gut and the neurotransmitters, the gut needs to remain healthy. The foremost important bacteria in the gut produce a large amount of the B vitamins. That's why pregnant women are given B vitamins, growing children are given B vitamins. Now, vitamin D is needed by these bacteria to produce the B vitamins. So, vitamin D is critical for brain health, and the B vitamins are critical for nervous system development, namely brain, spinal cord, nerves. And also, some of the B vitamins are needed for your body to make serotonin, adrenaline, and dopamine. So, if you're lacking the B vitamins or your gut is imbalanced with unhealthy bacteria, how will you produce enough B vitamins, which are needed for nervous system brain development, as well as blood cell development for delivering oxygen to the vital organs like the brain and the heart? Critically important.
So, I work with a lot of CEOs, CFOs, business people, and all. Does, you mentioned 1% of the population sleeps 5 hours or lesser and all, and they're like bragging about it and all. And so we see that some of these rich people, like, I can get by with 4 hours of sleep, especially you guys, doctors. You'll go through medical college thinking you can sleep on 4 and 5 hours. I'm sure you, when you meet your classmates, you have to like tell them, dude, you need more sleep. But does this sleep deprivation influence the brain's reward system and decision-making process?
100%. And many different ways this happens. So we know that on the brain scans with the AIM clinics, when you get less sleep, the frontal lobes don't work properly. They kind of shut down. Well, what do? They help us with decision making, rational decisions, suppressing impulsive or irrational, rash decisions. They help us with motivation, drive, joy, pleasure, social connectedness. They're kind of like the brakes of the brain as well. So they put the brakes on the emotional overreactions. And they also help us with processing speed, how quickly your brain assimilates information, processes that information, your ability to sustain attention, multitask, higher level executive functioning. So essentially, with sleep deprivation, your dopamine levels drop, your brain thinks it's going into survival mode or danger mode. Your brain will essentially be emotionally hijacked and you'll be more reactive, less responsive. So, as a CEO, as a high functioning individual, as an elite athlete, it's like a chess game, right? You're not going to
Mhm.
be on top of your game when your frontal lobe is shutting down with less dopamine. And then with less dopamine, you're going to want to fuel that dopamine in other unhealthy ways. That's why sleep deprivation has also been shown to be associated with addiction relapses, food cravings, and then you'll run to the sugar because that's as addictive, more addictive than cocaine, according to a study.
Wow.
That's
So
right.
you
And
you know in your book you wrote one part which kind of set with me, which was if you have a night of bad sleep, there's a part of your brain where up to 40% of your reasoning or processing power or decision making goes down. So now, whenever I have to sit on my board meetings and go through multiple department meetings, I make sure I switch off Netflix. I make sure I go to sleep early because I have to be in that meeting for 8, 9 hours continuously focused, and so it's very important. But Dr. Shane, are there any stories that you have, without taking names, of where you have changed the athlete's behavior or your client's behavior, and you have seen an absolute change in their personality or character because you're focused on sleep?
there's countless examples, Ryan. One example that really stood out to me was this guy who was having a night eating disorder. So his wife wanted to divorce him because every night he
Mm,
was eating. He wasn't aware of it. He was asleep. He was going to the kitchen, eating a bunch of food, making a terrible mess. The food in the bed, the food crumbs between the kitchen and the bedroom. She's waking up with curry and food in the bed, and she's like, I'm done with this. This is bad. This has to stop. And this guy had severe anxiety and PTSD. He had been in a war zone. And so he had horrible nightmares. He was snoring. He was in his early 40s. And I said, well, you know, he's a young guy, he's not fat, but I still want to test him for sleep apnea.
mm.
So test him for sleep apnea. He was stopping breathing 108 times an hour.
Wow.
Really severe sleep apnea, right? And we know that sleep apnea, your brain cannot get enough oxygen. It goes into anxiety mode that triggers anxiety and waking up out of deep sleep that can result in sleep eating. So I said, let's first treat the sleep apnea properly. We know what it is. Let's get a good CPAP machine. Let's get the right pressures going. Let's resolve that as a first step. You know what happened?
Mm.
He stopped night eating. His marriage was saved. He
Wow.
lost 40 pounds, 40 pounds of weight reduction within 8 weeks because he wasn't night eating anymore. Because
So
yeah,
you're saying that people who are not losing weight is also related to sleep?
oh, 100%.
How?
That's so important in your work as well, right? So the brain thinks for every 4 hours of sleep that you don't get, your brain thinks it needs to eat 900 more calories.
Say that again. Say that again. We got to clip this. For every
For
four
every
hours of
four
sleep,
hours of less sleep that you get, your brain thinks it needs 900 more calories to consume.
that that would explain why sometimes I've got the perfect diet to my clients, but they're not losing weight. Because
Yes.
I've gone on a calorie deficit diet, but the next day the body just telling them you need to eat 900 calories more.
Exactly. And even if they're on a ketogenic diet, that's a good reason why you need carb cycling in some folks, right? I mean, you're the expert in this area, but the hormones are the gatekeepers of the cells. So if your sleep isn't optimized, your body will go into survival mode. Survival mode means more stress hormone cortisol. Cortisol will start storing everything as fat. And we know our fat cells convert testosterone to estrogen. So instead of building muscle, you're losing muscle and building fat with the healthy diets you may lay out for your clients. So leptin, which suppresses appetite, goes down. Ghrelin, which makes you hungrier, goes up. Testosterone, which builds muscle, goes down. Cortisol, which builds fat, goes up.
Wow. Wow. So that was technical. So for the layman out there listening, board certified psychiatrist and sleep coaching doctor has said this. For 4 hours of lesser sleep, you need 900 calories. Your body consumes 900 calories more, and that's where you're not being able to lose weight. So I think this goes out to all the women out there who are, on social media into late night Netflix and stuff like that. And speaking of the elephant in the room for children and for even you and me, social media, Netflix, is it correlated to the modern day age's mental health issues? Are you seeing a relationship of children not being able to perform well because they're just hooked onto social media? And one is the hooking to social media, and the other is social media eating away your sleep time. So there are two departments. So, like for my son, I kind of try and limit his interaction on the internet as much as possible to 1 hour, 1.5 hour a day at 11 years of age. But tell us as parents, tell us as individuals, how much do we need to do a digital detox on a daily basis?
Oh, that is crucial, Ryan, a digital detox, because people only think about, oh, light exposure, but it's way more than that. There was a really good documentary called The Social Dilemma, which tells us about how social media essentially hijacks your brain. And especially the youth are the most vulnerable people. Like, I got my first cell phone when I was 18 years old. It had a little digital screen, like a digital watch. Years later, I had a touch screen and all this fancy stuff. Social media wasn't a thing. Even this Instagram that we're on, I didn't have it a few years ago. But now the kids, the teenagers, adolescents, all are on social media. So one thing is that it's designed to hook us in with that hit of immediate gratification, the dopamine hit. Pleasure, 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 press the button. It's like a gambling thing. The same principles for gambling addiction
Mm-hmm.
apply to social media addiction. And that's a big problem because you can constantly need that high and crave that, and you go back to the social media, then you start taking things literally. Not only that, it's going to mess with your sleep. The other factor is because we're looking for this external validation constantly. Oh, this person has such a great life. This person, you don't know how miserable they really are. They're showing it because they want that ego boost. They want that external validation to say, oh, some people are liking my post. So obviously I have a good life, although I'm miserable. So if you're relying too much on external validation, external bow, if you will, what's going to happen is that where's that internal sense going to develop? How will you develop internally? Then you're going to be like a feather in the wind, or someone says something bad to you, it's going to affect you terribly. Someone says something good to you, you'll believe them. Then you'll be surrounded by yes people who don't want to say anything negative to you. And you'll kind of go down the wrong path. Instead of self learning, growth, purpose, meaning, you'll be focusing only on the immediate gratification of external validation. And that's not going to promote growth or self discovery and self development.
Okay. There are a lot of questions coming in, and Rudra and Pratash, different people are asking, even Rashi is asking, how to sleep peacefully without any nightmares or any thoughts. So when we close our eyes, then we are stressed out about, ye, this happened today, ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya. And I also face it a lot of times, especially when the week I've not been able to get forward. Shane, who's a sleep specialist, and all of us, all Ryan Fernando's fans and Instagram Live followers right now, um, we're counseling with Dr. Shane, and we asked Dr. Shane, give us the perfect schedule, give us some tips of what we should be doing to get better sleep and have better brain health.
100%. So, peaceful sleep, huh? That's a lofty goal. Marcus Aurelius, the famous Stoic, used to manage the Empire of Rome and then go back to his chambers, but he wouldn't go to sleep immediately, Ryan. He would have what we could now in today's terms call a daily download. He would chill out, sit down, think about the day's happenings. And I learned this trick from Roger Federer's mindset. After a point where he's won or lost it, Here's a 15-second rule. 5 seconds, he'll think about how that point went. If he lost it or a terrible lost it, no problem. 5 seconds of I'm now in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's dead. And the next 5 seconds is planning for the next point. So remaining in the moment, there's an ancient saying that says if you're stuck in the past, you're depressed. If you're worried about the future, you're anxious. But if you're in the present moment, you're at peace. And we have busy brains, busy lives. We're always on our phones. There's no time for us to process all the information that's been hitting us all day. So, unfortunately, when we're lying in bed, that's the only time we're not on our gadgets, hopefully. That's when all the stuff starts coming to the surface. So, the first rule is your brain is not a light bulb. It's not going to switch off immediately when you want it to. So, spend 30 to 60 minutes before your bedtime writing down your worry list from that day, maybe journaling, writing down your to-do list for the next day so you're not thinking about those things, or I'll forget this or that in bed. So meditation is key for calming the nervous system down. Yoga Nidra is amazing as well for that purpose. So have a nice winding down routine, whether it's journaling, your to-do list, your worry list, meditation, a warm shower, dim lights, no activating stressful conversations with your wife, or no stressful interactions, or don't put on the news if you're looking at bad news. And most of the time it's sensationalist anyway. So why bother with that? It's not an emergency. There's no cyclone coming to your doorstep every night. So if you have a nice winding down routine, your brain will start saying, okay, I'm supposed to be getting ready for sleep time. Protect your sleep time as a mini vacation every single night.
Could you repeat that? Protect your sleep time as a mini vacation every night.
Exactly.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that people want to plan vacations 1 year in advance, 6 months in advance. Look forward to your sleep time from the time you wake up. That is your mini vacation. You need to protect it as your mini vacation each 24-hour period,
I'm going
and
to
your
start doing
bedroom
that
is
from
your
today.
cave.
I'm going to start
Absolutely.
doing that today. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting on my vacation. I'm going to go to sleep at 10 o'clock tonight. So, see, speaking of taking a mini vacation, so can the brain get any benefits by engaging in any new cognitive activity or challenging activities like maybe learning a new language or playing a musical instrument?
100%. So challenges with the brain, putting it out of its comfort zone, stimulates brain development, what we call neuroplasticity. Now, we see this in speech therapy, we see this in physiotherapy as well. If someone has had a stroke, we're stimulating different areas of the brain to take up different tasks. Research has shown there's a part of the brain called the anterior mid cingulate gyrus, which increases in size the more challenging tasks you're engaging in. Now, the normal thing we do is avoid anything that's challenging. We avoid stressful things. We avoid things that are difficult to do. We want the easiest way forward. But that doesn't stimulate brain growth. People always say brain is a muscle. So you think you're going to build muscle and become an elite athlete by sitting on the couch eating potato fries? No.
That's so true. We need to challenge the brain and get it to somewhere. So one you said is take a mini vacation. Another advice is challenge your brain.
Simple
Maybe have some carbo.
ways. Yeah, simple ways to challenge your brain, right? Right. So I can drive to work the same way each day, or I can try a different route. Why use your GPS when you may have a good sense of where a place might be? Don't use your GPS that day. Find a different route to work, maybe. Try and find something new each day. Have what you might call a nightly treasure hunt. Before going to bed, think about something unique that happened that day, or try and remember a sequence of events, or decide you want to walk around your neighborhood and find a store or a coffee shop you haven't seen before. Stimulating your brain in different ways strengthens the neuronal connections and stimulates different neural networks.
So basically, somebody just asked this question, sir, I experience pain in the head after eating sugar. So the head is your department. So any inputs on whether when somebody's eating sugar? I mean, the first thing I would say is don't eat it because your
Yeah,
brain is telling you not to eat it. But what do you think as a doctor?
you're right, Ryan, and you know this better than I do. You're a world-renowned nutritionist. That sugar is toxic to the brains, and whether it's just plain sugar or whether it's candy with colors that may be adversely affecting our brain, we know that some folks are more sensitive than others to certain things. So if you're even more sensitive to sugar and you have a headache, migraines are a form of, the nervous system going into overdrive or inflammation, triggering the sensitive nerve endings. It's a sign that you might be more sensitive to sugar than the average person. And you're right. Listen to your brain. It's telling you what's right and what's wrong for it.
You know, if both of us were cricketers and you're at the other end and I was on the other side batting, I would say that come up to you and say, Dr. Shane, maybe also, certain people are allergic. Like if I drink sugarcane juice, my sinuses get clogged. Now, if my sinuses get clogged, it puts pressure on the back of my eyeballs. So a food allergy test sometimes helps people. And the source of sugar could also be the trigger. Sugar in itself is the glucose spike that arrives with that. The brain might just not be able to be one of those brains that handle a heavy load. But speaking of foods, do you advise people to avoid any foods before bedtime?
Yes. So typically a rule of thumb is avoid any meals 2 hours or closer to bedtime. Only because some people say 3 hours, I say 2 hours, only because it takes time to digest the food. When your body is digesting food, your heart rate goes up, more blood flow goes to the gut. If your heart rate is elevated, if your body temperature is elevated, it's harder for your body to come down and fall asleep. That's one. Another thing is if you're eating too close to bedtime and you're lying down, you might have some reflux and it might cause some heartburn and difficulty falling asleep. Always important not to eat too far from bedtime either. Otherwise, in the middle of the night, your blood sugar will go down, and then you'll need more stress hormone cortisol to get the glycogen out of the muscles to produce more glucose. So it may wake you up in the middle of the night if you've eaten too far from bedtime. Avoid fatty foods before bedtime because it's difficult to digest those. You might have discomfort. Avoid fast carbs because it's going to cause that sugar spike that we mentioned and then a sugar crash in the middle of the night. So, good thing to do is eat 2 or 3 hours before your desired bedtime. Maybe some slow carbs, kombucha, maybe some protein. A good balance of slow carbs and protein and greens is usually the best course of action.
Awesome. So, doctor, you practice with the world-renowned psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Amen in the US, and he's made this famous where he actually takes brain scans of people who are caffeine addicts, alcohol addicts, the drugs of cocaine, marijuana, and they show that the scans have holes in the brain. Now, what are they? What are the reasons the brain gets these holes? I mean, I want the public to understand that I mean, my terminology, you're literally giving a thupad to the brain.
Yeah.
So a slap. So when you see clients or patients, like for example, the question that just popped up as I'm talking to you with this question about holes in the brain, insomnia is a massive problem for a lot of people. They don't get good sleep. Could it be that they're slapping the brain and the brain's therefore refusing to shut down?
100%. So the SPECT images that we do at Amen
What
clinics
is
basically
SPECT?
look at so single photon emission computed tomography, a fancy way of saying we're looking at blood flow and activity. So CTs, MRIs look at a picture of the brain. Here we look at how much blood flow and activity is going on in different areas.
So I have to swallow some sort of dye or something or inject some dye to see it?
Inject some dye
Yeah.
and it's taken up by the brain cells. and then the imaging equipment, the brain cells, they take up the dye, they release light particles that are captured by the equipment.
Hmm.
And based on how much light is released, it tells us how active those areas are. And we
So,
know what
so
different
they do
brain
it only in
regions do.
clinical conditions, or even normal people do it?
Everyone does it. People who have clinical conditions. They want to know if they have ADHD, if they have depression, anxiety, what kind of depression, what kind of anxiety, brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries, contact sports. And then people who just want to see how healthy their brain is, if they're at risk for developing dementia in a few years or not, or they just want to just be on top of their game and make sure they're
So,
getting their brain health right.
so you can look at the brain and kind of predict that someone might get dementia?
Yeah, 20 years before, 30 years before.
Oh, so my grandmother had dementia. So maybe in my 50s, I want to do a brain scan and see if there's a deterioration. That's what you're saying. I could do that.
100%. Come on
Dr.
over,
Shane,
we'll get you scanned.
is this available in India?
It is, well, the SPECT imaging is available in India, and you can scan various organs. But unfortunately, Amen Clinics does not have a branch in India. So we have tons of folks coming through from India as well, getting the brain scans. And, we can a lot of people want to do it. They have podcasts and they have their own TV shows, and we do it for them as well. So if any chance next time you're in the US, let me know beforehand. I'll schedule to get a brain scan, and we can even do one of these lives again
We'll
and
do
share your
live when
brain
my
with the
brain is getting
world.
scanned. A few more questions before I let you get off to your deep sleep and your dream cycle. Exercise wearables. I remember I did a podcast with you and you told me that they're not very accurate on sleep tracking, your sleep rings, the wearables. Just dive in that. What is the benefit if I use a sleep tracker? And what is the benefit of not using a sleep tracker? Give us both sides of the coin.
Absolutely. So one thing to remember is if you're using a sleep tracker, don't obsess over it. Don't try and say, oh my God, it said I got this much dream sleep, this much light sleep, this much deep sleep. So only so little deep sleep. No, those numbers don't matter in the greater scheme of things because it's not accurate. Is it total measure of total sleep? Sure. You can say, okay, chalo, I'm going to see how my sleep is trending over the course of the next week. But as individual measures, not a good idea. Total measure, yes. Various wearables. You have the Apple Watch, you have Fitbit, you have Aura Ring, a Whoop, all sorts of things. Right now, the Aura Ring seems to be the most accurate one, but not that accurate anyway. So, okay is a rough measure. That's the long and short of it. A lot of people don't have the wearables. They don't want to spend tens of thousands of rupees on a tracker. No problem. You don't really need one. Some folks just want to fill out a sleep diary to track their sleep. So in the morning you wake up, have it by your bedside, write down what time you decided to go to sleep, get into bed, and then what time you think you fell asleep and what time you woke up in the morning. And I always tell my folks, well, did you wake up in the middle of the night? Hi, yeah, I woke up at 2 in the morning and I woke up at 3. But I'm like, you're not supposed to look at your watch. How did you know exactly what time you were waking up? Because if you're looking at your watch,
Yes, you're
you're going to
stressed out.
worry, right? It's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
stress you out. You won't be able to fall back asleep. So, trying to sleep is the best way to wake your brain up and prevent yourself from falling back asleep.
I think I think that's very valuable advice to use the tracker on an overall perspective. I use the Gabbett ring in India, and the overall perspective over here is that it kind of gives me the total volume of sleep, but it also kind of tells me to go to sleep every day between 10 and 10:15. And the
Perfect.
moment I start getting to 10:15, I'm like, okay, time to sleep, time to sleep, time to sleep. But earlier when I didn't have the tracker, I didn't like, I'm like, yeah, I can, I'll push it to 6:45, 6 hours, 45, 7 hours. There are quite a few more questions, but I'm going to let you go shortly. One of the questions that came is, and I think a lot of people do this, does music listening at bedtime increase sound sleep? And so I'm adding my question to it now on top of this. This came from Shirin, and she's asked this question. And then over and up, my question to that is, which type of music should I listen to and which type of music I should not listen to before going to sleep?
Okay, this is a great question because there's certain sound waves and frequencies that are calming to the nervous system. So binaural beats is very commonly used for this purpose. Binaural beats are a unique sequence of sounds that help promote calming of the nervous system. That's fine. Some folks like classical music. Some folks like Gregorian chanting to calm the nervous system down. It really depends on what music works best for you. Ideally, you don't want to listen to, heavy metal or EDM or something like that. That's going to pump you up, that's going to make you excited. If you want something soothing, it's going to vary. Now songs and music are the soundtrack of our lives. So if you have a song that's going to remind you of some horrible relationship breakup or something like that, avoid that. You don't want to cry and go to sleep in a negative mindset because that might trigger nightmares, right? As we
That's true.
spoke about earlier.
That,
So
that's
each to
that's
their own.
each to their own. I recently started playing something known as a hang drum, and I bought one and I was playing it, and I found it very therapeutic. And then I turned it upside down, and I saw that 432 hertz was written on it. So
That is the frequency of heaven, right? That is where all the bells were back in.
we've lost Dr. Shane.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
can you
back.
hear
You're
me?
back. You were talking. You broke off at that was where the bells were made in the past, and you cut there.
Yes. The bells were supposed to resonate at 432 hertz. That's the golden frequency. That's the range. That's a healing range. That's a therapeutic calming range.
I've
So that's
started
ideal.
I've started deep breathing, and we started playing 432 hertz, and I just find that I recently, and this is not scientific, but this is my personal experience. I did a heavyweight training workout on legs, and I hate legs like most people. And so after finishing about 7 sets of leg press, which was twice my body weight, I couldn't walk after that. And my trainer's like, "You're gonna cry tomorrow with DOMS." And so I went back and we did this deep breathing session with 432 hertz music, pulsating electromagnetic frequency sleeping through the night, and a lot of pineapple and glutamine. And trust me, next 48 hours, I was searching for soreness. So why am I sharing this with you, is Shane? I think a combination of diet and nutrition are the two greatest elixirs for your brain, you know? And Dr. Shane, if people want to reach out to you and want to find you or want to get your book, which is Peak Sleep Performance for Athletes, how can we reach out to you? Obviously, everyone can reach out to Ryan Fernando, and Ryan Fernando will get you a direct line to Dr. Shane Creado. We are good friends now. But if people want to find you, follow you, where can they go and reach you?
Peak Sleep Performance is my Instagram. My website is shanecreado.com, and the book Peak Sleep Performance is available on Amazon and Kindle. And I'm at your service. I'm ready to help out with anyone who needs to optimize their sleep, to improve their brain health, their nutrition goals, their weight loss goals. And I'm so grateful for this time as always, Ryan, because you're an inspiration to me and a good reminder that I need to be on top of my nutrition game because the gut fuels your brain and your sleep.
It's very true. I think, Shane, you're much younger than me. And if I could get back to your age, the one thing that I would tell myself is our profession has an occupation hazard, and a very good occupation hazard is people judge us, right? From the way we sleep, the way we eat, the way we think, and everything else. So it's awesome. We'll jam again soon. I'll let you go and get your sweet dream sleeps, deep sleep. By the way, would you be watching any blue light after this? Is your orange filter on right now on your phone?
The filter is on,
So
and
can you,
filters are not.
before I let you go, you got so much of valuable information. Is this true about the blue light affecting us and triggering us before going to sleep?
Yes. So, and I can spend as much time as you need, Ryan. I love doing these with you. It's an absolute honor to be with you as always. So, when we think about blue light, any light affects or suppresses our melatonin, which makes it harder for you to fall asleep. We're most sensitive to blue light. But red light doesn't affect us. Isn't that beautiful the way we are created? Because red light, sunset, it's not going to affect our melatonin anyway. Melatonin can rise normally. So we're more sensitive to blue light. So blue light filters can help to some degree. Blue light blocking glasses can help to some degree, but not completely. So that's why I always advise folks, dim the lights an hour before bedtime, even at home. Don't have bright fluorescent lights till late at night, even if you're not on a screen. Dim the lights, calming environment. There's a good reason people had candles back in the old days, you know. And then when you're waking up, get some sunlight on your face. People say, all right, but I have my light on at home. No, that's maybe, 5,000 lux, but the sunlight is 100,000 lux. That's what we need to regulate and lock in your circadian rhythm.
Awesome. Dr. Shane, it's a pleasure. When you're next in India, to let me know. We'll do a live at the city that you're in, and we'll do it in person where everyone can come and visit us and get signed copies of your books. Thank you so much for your time today. I'll be in touch with you. God bless you. Take
God
care.
bless you too, Ryan. Thank you so much.
So that was Dr. Shane, who's written the book Peak Sleep Performance for Athletes. And Dr. Shane practices in Chicago at the Dr. Daniel Amen Clinics. He's a world renowned psychologist. But this book has changed my counseling because, I always tell athletes that, I'm going to give you an amazing diet. But if your sleep is lousy, then your brain, no matter how perfect your diet is at some point going to slap you. So it's a combination of you can't outrun a bad diet, which is the exercise part. So people think they can eat whatever they want and then exercise it. So you can't outrun a bad diet. And you can't undersleep a very fantastic diet. So you've got to get your sleep. And as I say always, your body is the most expensive real estate. I've got many questions on the diet forum coming in from so many of you. I sincerely apologize. The time was Dr. Shane's. There are so many questions on sugar craving, on diabetes, on are there any substitutes recommended for sugar and stuff. I will be coming back live. If you feel I should come back for an Ask Me Anything on one Sunday in a month where I'll answer all your questions, diet, nutrition, please stay tuned and I will answer those questions. Till then, stay safe. Remember, your sleep, as per Dr. Shane, is your mini vacation. I'm looking forward to my mini vacation because yesterday I just went on a vacation on a cycle in a bus stand and I remember my dreams clearly. My dreams were so happy. I had 20 rupees in my pocket and I was telling the cycle rickshaw, I want to go from here to here to catch my bus. He says, sir, you'll miss your bus. I said, no problem. If I miss my bus, I miss my bus. I'm very happy. My stomach is full. My brain is happy. I'm living my life. I'm breathing. What more do I want in life? God bless everyone. Take care.